opinion, I think was wrong, and I think the government. I think was wrong, and I think the government should appeal it. It's deeply flawed in a number of ways. I don't think the appointment of a special master is going to hold up. But even if it does, I don't see it fundamentally changing the trajectory. In other words, I don't think it changes the ball game so much as maybe we'll have a rain delay for a couple of innings. But I think that the fundamental dynamics of the case are set, which is the government has very strong evidence of what it really needs to determine whether charges are appropriate, which is government documents were taken, classified information.
When did I ever have faith in this guy?
Appropriately. And they are looking into, and there's some evidence to suggest that they were deceived. And none of that really relates to the content of documents. It relates to the fact that there were documents there and the fact that they were classified.
People were putting this on pause for 1 second.
They were subpoenaed and never delivered.
One of these days, we'll get a glitch-free stream. I'm getting a notification that we're not live on Rumble. A problem with the RMTP code, from what I'm being told. Upcoming. Begins at noon. No, it's definitely not live on Rumble. People, give me 1 second to figure this out. A problem with the RMTP code. I need TP for me live stream. Hold on 1 second, people. Gonna do this. Go here. We're having trouble. So let's just go ahead and edit this. Okay, let's just go ahead and remove this. Hold on. We're going to remove this one. Remove. Let's go add custom RMTP. Yes. This is probably my fat finger problem and not about any technical glitches or issues with. Let's just see here. We'll do Friday. Add. Okay, add, save changes. And now let's go see if on the Rumbles, refresh it. Sorry, guys, this will take a few seconds. Growing pains, hiccups. Yeah, that is definitely live. It says live. 16 watching. Good. Okay. It's just all back up. It's just all pretend that never happened. Part 2, people. Part 2.
But opinion, I think, was wrong, and I think the government should appeal it. It's deeply flawed in a number of ways.
He thinks it's wrong.
I don't
deeply
think the
flawed.
Appointment of a special master is going to hold up. But even if it does, I don't see it fundamentally changing the trajectory.
Yet they should appeal.
Words, I don't think
Yet
it
they should
changes
appeal.
The ball game so much as maybe we'll have a rain delay for a couple of innings.
Oh, rain delay.
But I think that the fundamental
rain delay for justice.
Dynamics of the case are set, which is the government has very strong evidence of what it really needs to determine whether charges are appropriate.
He's guilty.
He's
guilty.
Government documents were taken, classified
Barr.
information was taken and not handled appropriately, and they are looking into, and there's some evidence to suggest that they were deceived.
Oh, they were deceived.
Really relates to the content of documents. It relates to the fact that there were documents there, and the fact that they were classified, and the fact that they were subpoenaed and never delivered. But they don't have to show the content.
Oh, contents are irrelevant now.
Advice given in a memo, for example.
Content is irrelevant
in this case. So I think it's not really going to change the decision.
So
but
they
should appeal it.
Will be overturned on appeal by the DOJ?
It won't be.
I think if DOJ appeals eventually, it'll be overturned.
How long will that take?
It won't be.
Well,
that's my prediction.
Delayed. I hope they expedite it, but it could take several months to get that straightened out.
So
it could take several months to get it straightened out on the appeal of a special master, which is only temporally limited to the special master determining what might be privileged or confidential, or what in fact is, as was even identified by the privilege team. Okay, It's not going to get overturned. That's my prediction. And we'll see who happens to turn out to be right between former Attorney General Bill Barr and crazy Canuck Viva Fry. We'll see. But the logic in what he's saying here, or the absence of the logic, it won't really do much. It'll just delay the inevitable. The basis is there. He's already guilty. The contents of the documents is no longer relevant. It went from nuclear codes to the content of the documents no longer relevant. It's clear we were deceived. It went from nuclear documents to deception. But it's the beginning part of this that really, really pisses me off.
Opinion, I think, was wrong.
Wrong.
I think the government should appeal it.
Should appeal it.
It's deeply flawed in a number of
Deeply
ways.
flawed. He's talking about a court order that was just rendered by a federal judge. It occurred to me that once upon a time, Bill Barr said something along the lines of this. Trump attacks on, this was Bill Barr. Trump attacks on Justice Department make job impossible, Barr says. He says, Attorney General William Barr lashed out at President Donald Trump on Thursday. This is a while back, 2 years ago, saying the president's social media attacks on the Justice Department make it impossible to do my job, and that I'm probably going to be bullied and that I'm not going to be bullied or influenced by anybody. I know it's the Justice Department and not a judge, but it applies mutatis mutandis. What is Bill Barr doing right now, right here, if not interfering with the administration of justice by his own standards? I happen to think Bill Barr should be allowed to say things like this, as Trump should have been able to at the time. By his own standards, by his own criteria, Bill Barr right now is making it difficult for judges to do their job if they have to worry about former Attorney General getting on, what was he on, Fox News? Is it Fox? Getting on Fox. Biggest media company in America, to lambaste and basically ridicule a judge, tell her decision was totally nonsense. If it gets appealed, it'll get overturned. He's not going to be bullied or influenced by anybody, while he simultaneously now goes out and tries to bully the former judge and influence any appellate court that's going to hear this case. Because when they hear former Attorney General Bill Barr come out and say the decision was bunk, should clearly be overturned, that's not going to influence anything. That's not going to make it harder for the wheels of justice to turn. I don't know. Barr's a crooked as a dog's hind leg. Well, it depends. If a dog's in full stretched out mode, like running, the leg can get straight. But I remember there being a time when I thought Bill Barr looked like a decent guy. I haven't been giving the standard disclaimers because of the new format here, but no medical advice, no election fortification advice, no legal advice. Rumble rants, super chats, you know the rules. YouTube takes 30%. We go live exclusively on Rumble at about the 30-minute mark. So we do 30 minutes here, cover a few stories, move it over exclusively to Rumble. And if we build it, they will come, because it's where the future is, I think, of meaningful, long format, open discussion of topics that the overlords on big tech want to, at the very least, control the narrative of, if not outright prohibit. Wasn't Barr responsible for justice being delayed on bin Laden? I don't know enough about Barr's history to comment on that, but I know that Barr is quick to jump on the bandwagon. They definitely have a case against Trump. It doesn't matter what the contents of the documents are. We were deceived. Please look into the work of Sergeant Tyson Bowen. Today, we pay respects and celebrate his life. I talked about it yesterday with James Topp. We need to have a serious talk about PTSD in this country. Yeah. Well, one of these, maybe we'll talk about it later today or one of these days. It's when James Topp was talking about Tyson Bowen, it was clear what had happened. There's sometimes no fairness on this planet. Okay, and then we got this. Rumble almost never goes live when YouTube stream does. That's why I have to start out here every time. They're working on it. I email. I communicate with Pavlovsky every time I get recommendations. They're aware of virtually all of them in any event and working on it. So stay tuned, be patient, and okay, yeah, guys, I know I've only told them 15 times. Okay, all right, Bill Barr, the hypocrite. The bar has been risen. Lots of puns today. the bar has been risen. The bar of hypocrisy and double standards. When Trump criticized judges, when he commented on pending lawsuits, it was an attack on the judiciary itself. But and people will be able to distinguish. You know, it's Bill Barr, former Attorney General, versus the sitting President of the United States. Okay. When Roe v. Wade came down and members of Congress, members of the Senate, sitting members of government came down not only to criticize the decision, to demonize the justices, to call them extremists, to say that they're taking away Americans' rights. When they did that, it's fine. When Trump criticized the judiciary, it was an attack on the rule of law itself. And you'll always be able to wordsmith distinctions. No one will ever be the president. So if what they're saying is, you know, the Elizabeth Warrens can call Kavanaugh extremists, but any president cannot comment at all. Okay, if that's the standard, let me know. I'll just call you an outright hypocrite. But no, Trump is making it hard for the Justice Department to do its job. Bill Barr won't be bullied or influenced by anybody while he comes out on media to bully and try to influence the justice that is currently underway, or some might think the injustice that is currently underway. Loving the Encino Man look, I am devolving. I am no longer evolving. I'm devolving. We're going to get to some fun stories today because I'm talking about my testicular torsion when we go over to Rumble. I want to start. Look, the gates of hell thumbnail for this. I was very happy with that pun. Very happy with the way that thumbnail came out because it's glorious. DSLR Dave, by the way. Anybody who's looking to up their thumbnail game for YouTube, DSLR Dave. He's on Twitter. He's on the social medias. He does glorious work on the thumbnails. And today's thumbnail is no exception. Gates of hell. Because it's literally what we are opening, and it's literally Bill Gates himself that's opening them. I shared this video. I'm going to pause the shorter version. I retweeted this. Ezra Levant is ahead of the curve on a lot of this stuff. Tweeted this yesterday. We're going to watch it. It's not the entire clip. I haven't seen the entire segment in its entirety. We're going to watch this, and we're going to understand that Bill Gates is quite literally in real time, seemingly attempting to open the gates of hell. And I have a great many observations to make on this clip, but one in particular. Gates notes. No, gates of hell.
Walter Isaacson's new book, The Codebreaker, tells an amazing story. It's about how Jennifer Doudna and other scientists discovered a new way to edit DNA. Editing DNA with precision has been a holy grail for scientists for decades.
Editing DNA with precision has been a holy grail of both scientists and monsters. I mean, let's just let that sink in for 1 second. And it's an amazing thing. I'm watching this and I'm thinking, if I know nothing about Bill Gates as a businessman, as a promoter of certain interventions, as you know, what I've learned in the last, how many years now? 2 years? If I knew nothing of Bill Gates or nothing of the world around me, and I'm watching this, I could see myself saying, this sounds great. I have leukemia. I don't. What I'm going to say is I have a disease. If they can find a way to genetically edit my DNA to eliminate my disease, I'm thinking this would be the greatest breakthrough ever. But wait, we'll get there.
The DNA, of course, encodes all of the biological functions. And so some of the mistakes in DNA cause disease, genetic disease. If we could go in and fix those mistakes, we could save many, many lives and get rid of these diseases.
Can you just first of all appreciate, in an era of political correctness where you don't say disabled, you say differently abled. You don't say handicapped, you say impaired. I don't even know if you say impaired anymore. You don't say midget or dwarf, you say little people. And I'm not sure what the other term is now that's replaced what has now become the politically incorrect term. In an era of this terminology, Bill Gates is referring to people's existence, their very DNA, as mistakes. Where does this mistake end? Does it end at a disease, a congenital disorder? Does it end at a being differently able? Does it end at a neurocognitive incapability? Or does it go to skin color, skin pigment, and eye color? Oh, that would be a crazy question to ask. Oh, we'll just wait a few more
CRISPR
seconds.
is a very fascinating tool. You figure out a part of the DNA sequence that you want to change. Then you take the DNA that's nearby and create a guide in RNA. So that helps you locate the
I'm sorry, did I just hear a term that I hadn't heard until recently?
a guide in RNA.
Oh, and then you send in a little messenger RNA in there to change your DNA. Interesting. I remember hearing things which even 2 years ago I thought sounded conspiratorial.
So that helps you locate the position. And then you link this Cas enzyme, which has the ability to do that cut and edit. And so pulling together this guiding RNA and this Cas enzyme, editing becomes possible.
Editing your DNA becomes possible. Now, I have difficulty imagining someone watching this and not being somewhat terrified, even if they have no knowledge of Bill Gates or the world at large. I mean, I can still say, fine. Congenital heart condition, Alzheimer's, pancreatitis, things that you want to avoid. If you could find a magic thing to go in there and edit that, insofar as there's an Alzheimer DNA, it would be miraculous. You'd save people from suffering.
Our foundation is funding work to see if we can use CRISPR to knock down mosquito populations dramatically. We're also looking at
Does his voice drive anybody else crazy? No, his voice and his method of speaking. Where's he from? That accent, and the pitch of his voice, it hits a frequency that irritates my ears.
CRISPR to make better seeds. We're also looking at ways that CRISPR might help us with very accurate diagnostics. And we're considering how the CRISPR gene editing might lead to a way of curing HIV and things like sickle cell.
Okay.
Using CRISPR to help cure disease is not very controversial.
Using CRISPR to cure disease is not very controversial. I would like to put that in a parentheses. We'll leave it aside. But he's priming us for something. He's priming us by trying to just sit that out there so that he tells you what to think before telling you something that you probably will agree with. But wait until you hear the next sentence.
Cure disease is not very controversial. But using CRISPR, you could actually change the DNA that would determine your baby's eye color or skin tone. Most scientists agree that
Can you appreciate what he just said there?
Determine your baby's eye color or skin tone.
And they even stopped the music. But wait for this.
Most scientists agree that this is something that we should not do.
Most scientists agree that this is something that we should not do, which necessarily implies that there are some scientists that think it is something that we should do. By the way, not even virtually all scientists. This is saying most. That could be 55%. That could be 50 plus 1. They say it's something we should not do. But there's a lot of scientists who think it's something that we should do. Modify your baby's eye colors or your baby's skin pigment. And they drop the audio. They drop the audio like it's the climax of the song.
Is not very controversial. But using CRISPR, you could actually change the DNA that would determine your baby's eye color or skin tone.
Do you remember the scene in Fight Club? Ooh, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. At the end of the movie when Ed Norton is putting it all together and he's talking to Tyler Durden, and then he connects it, and then the music just drops and he passes out. That's what you had right here. This is the truth drop that makes everything go silent.
Is not very controversial. But using CRISPR, you could actually change the DNA that would determine your baby's eye color or skin tone.
Whoa.
Most scientists agree that this is something that we should not
But
do.
some think it's okay.
Walter's book does a great job talking about how it's a slippery slope and raising the question of where should we draw the line and the relative role of the scientific community and governments in helping make sure that we don't cross it.
You know what's interesting? I don't know if he says it later on. It's interesting that Bill Gates at that very moment does not specify whether or not he thinks it's controversial, whether or not he thinks nobody should cross that line. He said it. Yeah, and the funny thing is, he said, like, when you're talking about how things can be used for evil, typically you don't need to say it. It's like, it'd be like, hydroxychloroquine. It has medical purposes. But it could be used by disgruntled spouses to potentially kill their other spouse. There was that story, and ultimately, the woman who fed fish tank cleanser to her husband was never charged. But they're like, okay, rubbing alcohol is very good at disinfecting wounds. It's not controversial. It could be used to end your spouse's life if you pour it into their food and don't tell them. Most doctors agree that is problematic. Why would you specify the horrific and, I'll dare say, Third Reichian manners, the eugenicist manner in which this science could be abused, unless you're thinking about it? And by the way, and then just, it's a soft. Most doctors think that, controlling your DNA to change eye color and skin pigment is a bad thing. But why don't you take a few moments to mull it over? Ever want to be born with different eye color? You ever want your baby to have different skin pigment? Just throwing it out there. Most doctors don't think it's good, but some do. Some do. He's saying the quiet part out loud, very loud. But I don't know who sees these videos in the first place. And so it becomes the obligation of the rest of the world. Bill Gates put together a very, very detailed, very well-edited video. We should share it around. Let them know what they're saying publicly. Unless you're thinking about it. That is the undoubted, that is the, what's the word? The Easter egg in there? I don't know if I'm using the word right, but, oh no. Most doctors think that that's a bad thing. Using science to shape humans the way we think they should be shaped, and referring to genetic mistakes. I can't get over that. Genetic mistakes. Very, very politically incorrect in today's day and age. Designer babies is what it's like. Oh, it's can't say it. Gates said scientific community and government decide. Let that sink in. Replay it. Hold on. Did I close down the? No, I heard it. Let the government decide. Let the government decide with the influence of the likes of Bill Gates. Oh, all right. How's everybody doing today? It's Friday. My facial hair is growing in, but not fast enough. Appeal of the Department of Justice. The Justice Department is appealing Judge Cannon's order to appoint a special master. Bannon, 6 charges, being paraded around handcuffed. We've gone from show trials to show prosecutions to show persecutions, and you've got too many people saying, oh, he broke the law. Can you imagine? I don't even understand the rationale of someone like Steve Bannon, for example, and the charges. Do they need to be handcuffed as a matter of law? I ask the question because I don't know the answer actually. When you're accused of things like, I don't know, fraud, and you're voluntarily turning yourself in, do you need to have your hands cuffed behind your back, paraded before media as part of the process? I don't know if cuffing is necessary each and every time there is an arrest or bringing someone in for it. I don't know. If anybody knows, let me know. This is precursor technology that allowed Captain Kirk, Bones, and myself to teleport down to new worlds where no man has gone before. Spock, I can do it. Look at that. Look at that. How good is that? See if I can do it on this hand. Wait. Oh, yeah. No, it's easy. Okay, I can do it. Yes, someone says show execute. It's. Oh, let's do this one real quick, just to before we move on over to the rumbles.
For every conservative American, this is what happens in the last days of the dying regime. They will never shut me up, not they kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
I'm trying to read into that body language. I know Steve Bannon's baseline. I think his face looks a little red, but I'm not sure if it's the lighting. So I'm not sure if that's anger rage or just disbelief, or it's not there. But I have the tendency when I get absolutely enraged beyond words, not to yell, but to get into this, like, it's a nasally upper chest way of speaking. Like you're speaking from the upper chest because you can't take a deep breath because of the amount of rage. That's what I detect here.
For every conservative in America, this is what happens in the last days of the dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll kill me first.
Now, I want to make sure I'm also not, his hands are not behind his back like an AOC. Like his hands are actually cuffed.
I have not yet begun to fight.
Yeah, that's right there. His hands are cuffed. It's not an AOC, putting her hands behind her back, then raising a fist as she walks off. This man's hands are cuffed. This is what AOC wishes would have happened to her when she was arrested for blocking the traffic. Why would he be handcuffed? If the chat knows, because I've never practiced criminal law, I don't know how it works. Do they have to cuff him as a matter of policy? So I don't know from the way he's is Bannon playing us? It almost seems like he's acting. He's gotten arrested and he's facing 6 charges: fraud, conspiracy, whatever. We'll go over it in a second. So if he's acting, well, he's got other actors with him because he's actually facing charges at the state level in New York. We'll get there. Yep, cuffed for real, another slave says. It's a perp walk. Perp walk before the media so they can get their images. Big bad man Steve Bannon. Look, he already convicted on contempt of Congress, facing new charges because the only reason he didn't go to jail the first time was because he got pardoned by Trump. We found a way to go after him on the state level. Chat going blank again today. We'll see about that. Okay, people, 27 minutes in. Now's the time. We're going to mosey on over. Hold on. I didn't put the link in. I got to remember I've got to remember my system of doing this. So I forgot to go pin the link in YouTube so that you all have it to go now. Hold on. We're going to go here. Things will get smoother as I get better at doing this. So bear with me while we do this. Boom. Pin. There we go. You all have the link now. We're going to wind this down. And by the way, you're going to want to follow us over. I did a live stream with Alison Morrow yesterday, and she asked the question. She said, Viva, if you're just posting the live stream the next day, why is discussion going to be any freer on Rumble than it currently is on YouTube? And I said, first of all, good question, because I just realized that myself when I went and posted the entire stream the day after I did an exclusive on Rumble. And I said, first of all, I'm not running out of my way to be edgier, to swear more, or to talk about stuff that I wouldn't be able to talk about on YouTube. I'm not running out there to say the elections were swollen. I'm not doing that. So by and large, I'm not going to have to worry about that. But for example, when I have Dr. Francis Christian on again, I posted clips, but that entire thing is not going to be able to go on YouTube. If I have Dr. Malone on, Dr. Corey, if I have things that I know we just won't be able to post in their entirety, I'll snip and I'll clip. And we'll live with it. But by and large, we're going to talk about some stuff on Rumble, and I may decide not to post it on YouTube, or I may post it on YouTube knowing it's going to get demonetized and not really have to worry about that anymore. It's going to be the freer discussion without the soft censorship. And if there's demonetization, so be it. But nothing's going to change in the actual essence of this channel. I'm not running over to Rumble right now to become a salty cracker. But we are going over to Rumble right now. So let's do this. Boom. One more link. And we are going to remove from YouTube. See you all on Rumble.